we're still getting used to the age of fear and how the economy is shaping out. So we've made it to the end of yet another month. So we have the numbers here for the June 2026 macro analysis, the free to play economy report. So we're doing things here a little bit different than you might see on some other channels. We have two accounts that we play. We play two accounts. So we're looking at the economy from those two different perspectives. We have our in-game account. The numbers for that will appear generally in teal in this report. And we have the baby account. The numbers for that will appear generally in purple on this report. And where we are in the game kind of dictates a little bit what we can and can't do. So we're looking at this through the lens of what we're able to actually accomplish and what do the numbers show regarding that. Are we on the right path? Are we building too aggressively? Do we need to hold back? Should we build more than what we're doing? Now, we plugged all the numbers into Gemini, and that's how we've been doing it. And we're just kind of doing that so I can talk to the machine, right? I'm just talking to the machine, asking for comparisons. You know, how did things go in the last couple of weeks, days, months? And as we get more and more information, then that information will start to show a broader and broader trend, and we can dig deeper into how things are going. Essentially, I got everything on pen and paper, took snapshots, put into machine. I'll put those pen and paper snapshots into the Discord if you're interested in that. So June free to play database. Okay, so this is the month end audit sheet. We went from May 23rd, which is just from where I started collecting the data. I decided to just put that on here as well, to June 30th. And we see things in parentheses here, the stuff in purple, that is going to be the baby account. The standard numbers are the main account. So AI is funny, right? It said gold in the month. It says gold coins, probably because of the Super Mario influence. And we look at the end here. I've had a plus 10 million gold. Okay, so this is how much we had. I had plus 10 million for what I did. Okay, I get it. This is not maybe the same way that we're seeing other numbers. We're just going to talk about what we were able to do on the free to play side and what the effect was. The effect was I had a net positive of 10 million gold. On the baby account, a lot more, right? On the baby account, I had plus 72 million gold. That's just because we're not building to the same degree. We're getting in some ways close to the same amount, but we're not building to the same degree. The baby account right now, if I take a look here, I believe it sits at level 98. So it sits at level 98. So we're only building those characters to level 95. And so we have a surplus of gold because we're not taking them up to maximum level. Our training materials, huge dip. We're going to get more into that huge dip this month on the main account. I did indeed build 6 characters. We built on the main account, we built Malekith, Morph, Quicksilver Symbiote, Riot, and Toxin. Okay, and also topping off the reworked characters that we had with those teams. We used a lot of training materials. My training materials on the yellow ones, the tier 4, went down to 0, and we started dipping into the purples. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? We're going to see as we go forward. We did have a negative as well. We built 5 characters on the baby account. We did have a negative to our overall stash as well. But again, we're going to take a look at that in a little bit more detail. We didn't dip too much into the purples. We had a plus on the purple on both sides, which I think is important because it shows there is a cushion in the account. We can buy purples kind of free to play. So that's why we're sort of keeping track of that. Tier 4 ability materials on the main account, we have a surplus of almost 600. We usually put tier 4s on everything except the basics on the main account. There was also a surplus on the baby account, but that is because we're not spending any. We're not spending any. We're starting to at this point in time. We spent all of them on the Daring Warriors, and then we didn't spend any. And now that the Symbiote team is coming out, we're going to see if we can keep up with the tier 4s by building that Symbiote team. We'll know again by the end of this month as that team starts to come out free to play. Looks like where I am on that mid game, and I don't know where you are. I'd like to hear in the mid game. We don't have access, right? Just because it's there for everybody to get, if you're not quite up to par yet, it's not there for us to access. So it seems like if you are a newer player, a mid-game player, you may not have enough tier 4s that you can kit your characters out. You simply are not able to do everything that everyone else is able to do. Another important thing here, we'll get into more detail, is our orbs. So our gold orbs, our training orbs, the level orbs that go with that, we didn't open any of those. So continue farming those. Continue farming that. So even if we have a deficit in one area, it looks like we might have a little fallback option. I'm not sure if those are meant to be part of the economy in the sense that I need to be drawing on these. I'm sure they are to a degree, but so far we haven't really had to dip into those. So that there might be something to that. Boyline had a similar video out today, and I don't know if he counted those. I think he did count those as part of the normal economy. So far, I haven't had to touch them. That might be the key to building an extra character or two. We'll have to see as time goes on. Don't bet on that. We'll have to see as time goes on. Shop credits. Shop credits continue to be an issue if you are a newer player. We definitely spent more than we did on the main account. So shop credits on the main account, what we do is we obviously top off characters who have made it into the character store that we don't yet have maxed out. But on the baby account, you need those for not only the character shards, but for the gear to keep your characters moving forward as well. Kind of an interesting thing. Let's go ahead and get into some of the details and look at our accounts. We're going to go back and forth between some pages and in game to really show you the application of what it is that we're talking about. So baseline versus the full month contrast. So this is what Gemini just feels is going on. Some people, right? The reason why this is important is because it pulls not only from my information, but it kind of looks at the internet, right? So it kind of pulls from community sentiment. And that's why I think this is interesting. So it's going to kind of give us comments, sort of how the community in general is feeling. And we're going to see if we're seeing that in our accounts. So it says our initial 10-day baseline. So it was starting with that May, the little 10-day window. From what it saw, it said short-term growth. The main account increased by gold by 75.2 million. So we hadn't started building anything at that point. We were just waiting for the next grouping of characters to come out, and our training materials rose by over 1,100. All right, so it says this initial tracking suggests a massive permanent surplus of leveling resources. So maybe that's how we feel sometimes, right? There's times when we feel like we have resources and then we want to spend them, and we just want to be careful to not do that. We want to have a plan, right? Who am I building and why? Sometimes, again, it looks like in between time, we might have this chunk of resources and we say, oh, well, let me go back and build this character. And it's free to play. We can't do that. It's free to play. We can't do that. We only have enough to build 5 characters a month. Team comes out in groups of 5. That's what we need to make sure that we're focusing on. And if we want to do something different, it's probably going to cost us some money, or we're going to have to skip something. Okay. Like it says, it's because the key character builds had not yet begun. Well, we have those phases, and I'm going to show you that in my game because that's happening to me right now. And this is just showing you the math that it uses to get the information. All right. Full month reality. So that's what happened in that initial 10 days because we're in between a build cycle. Now that we had a full month, what's actually going on? Spend phase was triggered. We had heavy character builds. We build Angel, Malekith, Quicksilver, Symbiote, and it put the comma in the wrong space, Riot, Venom, Toxin. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So that's 6 characters. I don't know if it's the same 6 that I wrote down on the paper. Whatever I said on the paper is what we actually built. But we built 6 characters last month. We built a lot of stuff. What did it cost? Training materials. The training material deficit, short-term gains were eliminated. All that stuff we did in that 10-day build was wiped out. Gold training mats on the main account plunged into a devastating 6,465 deficit. We drained that account those materials to 0. I ran out of T4 or tier 4 training materials, the yellow, the gold training materials. So key takeaway, very important. Short-term trackers hide the severe bottlenecks that appear when pushing endgame content in Marvel Strike Force. So again, what that means is there's these times, right? Characters come out they space them out, right? So if you're buying them, it's usually about a 10-day cycle, and there's somewhere in there as well when we get to the free to play, but there's these gaps. And sometimes during those gaps, we acquire resources and we think, hey, I have enough stuff, I can build this. And we just want to make sure that we don't fall into that trap. Always have a plan. Be thinking about, okay, this is what I'm working on. This is the team that I'm working on. We have to try not to deviate from that. The trading material crater. So our training reps were exhausted on our main account. Once again, we got these numbers here. So this number is incorrect. We went down to 0, right? So it's probably this number right here probably should be 251. I think that's what it's trying to say, because that's, I think, what we have now is about 200, maybe less. We probably have less. We'll see. But right, we lost almost all of our gold training materials, our tier 4 training, L4 training materials. And that's fine. We're going to find out that maybe doesn't look right. It looks really bad. It looks really bad. But what does it mean, right? We hear a lot about the numbers and what's here, but what does it mean when this actually happens? How does that actually affect what we're doing? Purple materials, by the way, it says we're flooded. The baby account gained almost 13,000 purple materials simply because we weren't building things as high, right? It says demonstrating that mid-tier progression events keep lower roster stock just because we're not building as high, okay? So during that same period of time, if we look at that summary, main account, huge drop for our training materials. We were able to build a lot of training materials on the baby account, but that shows that the gates to those things are different, right? And that might be happening to you. Some of us need more training materials. Some of us need more gold. And that just seems to be the community in general. I'm very curious as to why there's always seems to be that balance where it's not just one gate. It looks like, I don't know why different people run up against different gates. I would be interested to try to understand that. Let me know in the comments if you have some ideas. The structural gate. Gold currency is handed out freely for me. I got plenty of gold. High grade training materials are now the end game choke point, and I find that that is true for my account. That is the thing that I run out of. That's the thing that I run up against. That is the limiting factor to my account, is training materials. So let's jump over to the game here. Let me show you the practical application. Okay, there's a lot of numbers and stuff there, but what's actually happening? What does that mean? This is once again the main account. So we go, and what we're working on right now on the main account is our Symbiote 6 team. Okay, here we go. So actually, it's built. For the most part, it's built. So this is part of all the things that we built. So we built this entire team up to gear tier 20 with the exception of Venom. We're still working on him. We're trying to get him built up. And this is the first time that we kind of ran out of gear, which is fine. So now what we have to do is just farm these last 2 pieces of gear to get him up to gear tier 20. He's missing those gear tier 20 pieces. And that's usually what I buy in the store for shop credits, is I buy gear tier 20 pieces. I know other people buy character shards, and it's kind of, I might be convinced to change my mind, but I'm not running out of gear tier 20. I have plenty. I don't really run out. I look like I'm running out. In this case, we need that mini unique, and we're just get those from doing raids, right? I need this syringe right here. We're just going to get that out of our armory 20 orbs that we get every single day. I got 27 on hand. We'll get a couple of mini uniques for every type of character, right? We got 10, and that's something that we now is just part of the everyday thing. If it wasn't before, it is now. So we went up a little bit, and it's fine. We have time. We don't need to worry, okay? So here's my training materials. I have 155. So there's a real world identity of what's there. I have 155 tier 4s, L4s, training materials. I keep mixing that up. I have 155. So I'm going to run out, right? But the thing is, what do I have to build right now? In reality, this team is done, right? This team is done. So again, we're thinking about, well, what comes next? The next team to come out will be the Amazing Avengers, right? At the time that we're watching this video, Rachel Cole Alves, or Alves, I think it's Alves. I like Alves, but I think it's Alves. So Rachel Cole She'll be coming out tomorrow, Friday, right? Friday for money. She'll be coming out Friday for money. And then it's going to be a couple weeks before she comes out free to play, starts showing up in the random store and their events for her and stuff like that. So I have time. We have weeks before this team starts coming out free to play. The free to play team right now is kind of these symbiotes. In fact, it might even be what is called the symbiotes. But again, the main point to take away from this is we have time. So it looks like that I'm out of currency. It looks like that I'm running at a major deficit, which I might be, but we have some time to build those reserves. We have probably about 2 to 3 weeks before we can even start farming the character, let alone unlock the character. So we'll see how it goes. Again, this is the practical explanation of what's going on versus just what's on paper. On paper, I'm out of materials, but that might mean I built everything I'm supposed to build and then some, right? I might have overstepped and built an additional character that I wasn't supposed to, because I built 6 characters as opposed to 5. So then we'll see what happens in the coming weeks as to if I'm able to build this team without any trouble. So what happens when we compare gold instead of training materials? Well, our net gold accumulation, it says there on the main account, once again, about 10 million gold, 72 million on the baby account. We're just building characters to different levels. So we're not using as much gold on the baby account as we are on the main account. Main account, we're building 5 characters up to level 105. The economy allows that. 5 characters, level 105. If you go higher than that, you're going to run out. Okay. What are we looking with the 2 different perspectives of the roster? End game drain, building 6 characters in this case, right? I went too many. It says to level 95 to 100. The reason why I said it's averaging. So that's the problem with the AI, right? It's averaging the fact that perhaps like a Venom or something like that, we already had them at a certain level, right? Like say level 100, and then we just brought them up to 105, right? It's averaging that in. So we're building our characters to 105. But that costs almost all of our gold income. But we did have a little bit left over. That's something to be mindful of. We built 6 characters. We had a little bit left over, right? And we didn't open any of those orbs. So I don't think the economy allows you to do this all the time. I think it's meant for 5 characters. We were able to build 6. We'll see what happens as time goes on. We had a little bit left over. Roster with abundance. So this is from the baby account. Newer rosters building at a lower level run surpluses, right? Massive surpluses. So the baby account in this case, as it said, 72 million, but we're not building characters to the same level. We're building those characters right now to level 95, stopping there and kitting them out with gear tier 18. Orb hoards are intact. That is a very interesting thing. On both accounts, I did not need to open any of the orbs that we acquired. Any of the gold orbs of either variety, any of the training orbs of either variety. We'll see as time goes on if that is part of the normal process. But at the moment, didn't have to open them. So that means there might be flexibility to squeeze in another character. Maybe not all the time, maybe not every month, but maybe here or there. Maybe there's an opportunity to squeeze in another character, or maybe somehow this is going to be the path to how we're going to get to level 110 on a more regular basis. Again, this is just theories. We're going to have to see. Says the unified store. What we're talking about here is shop credits. So the shop credits bleed. Okay. Main account. Shop credits, we spent about 340,000. So we spend shop credits again on topping off those characters that are in the free to play cycle that make it into that store. Okay, which is fine. This is what we're supposed to do. And on the main account, we have tons of shop credits. So ultra endgame players, people who have been playing for a long time, who had a bunch of that extra stuff masked up, you're going to have tons of shop credits. And we spent some. It isn't a problem. However, individuals that are not in that situation, so newer players, mid-game players, and people that simply just were not playing as long, our shop credits are rapidly declining. If we remember, we had millions at one point with that new player account. We had millions, and now we are down to last time we checked here was 841. Let's call it 842,000 shop credits from millions. And we spent half of that same number. If that happens again, right? That's only 2 months left of being able to spend our shop credits. We'll do whatever happens will happen. But we're running low. We're at a higher deficit than that. Maybe you were in that same boat. The promo code that came out, right? Was that June Boost or something like that? That gave us quite a bit, but still we're spending through it, right? Consolidated bottleneck proof. The baby account suffered a 37% loss reduction in buying power in a single month because the currencies are merged, right? That's the way it understands it. Catch-up players must bleed their balances to buy character shards and gear tiers simultaneously. So that is what's going on. Maybe you're in the same boat. I would like to hear back from you. We have to use it to build our rosters. We have to use it to catch up in character shards and gear. Let's go to the game real quick. Okay, so here we are in the baby account. Like we said, we're at level 98 for our account level, but we're building characters. I just like building them in 5s. We're building characters to level 95. So there's Quicksilver Symbiote. We have him at level 95. And to get him built up, what do we need to do on a regular basis? Well, we have to go to these pieces here. You can find them. And it's going to take us to the supply section of the store. You see, it says they're the middle tier. So we're going to go to that. There's those augmented phosphates that are sitting there. So we'll buy those. And those are shop credits, again, that we have to use on a regular basis. Not only that, let's see, is it enough to build him up? It's enough to build him up. Boom. So we'll bring him up to 18. And then naturally, I would simply now move on to the next character. While we're here, let's just take a real life example. Let's just see what happens. We got Riot unlocked. So bring him up. 95. All right, we're starting to run a little bit low on the training materials there as well, but it doesn't matter as much. We have a lot more time to bring it up. So we got Riot. That didn't seem to be a problem. We'll upgrade and look, we can only get him up to gear tier 6. Okay, so this is just for people who might not understand. If those of us who are in the situation, we understand. But Scopely, if you're watching, like, this is where some of the problem is. We can only get him up to gear tier 6. So we're going to bring him up. He's at gear tier 6. And we're missing those 2 pieces, right? This is blue gear. This is blue gear. We're missing those 2 pieces. So we're going to go there. It looks like it's Catalyst. Even if I have to open orbs, right? I got 6. Why? Because we do this. I don't have 6,000. I don't have 6 million. I have 6 because this is what we do when characters are released. Was that enough? No, it wasn't enough. So what do I have to do? Shop credits, right? Shop credits. So we're going to have to do this for every character, right? Every character. We could go into the campaign there, but I need to use the campaign energy to get those orbs and to farm other characters. All right, so we have to do this. I have enough now to get him up. We run into our next bottleneck, purple. Okay, so do you see the cycle? We won't continue to go through this, but do you see the cycle? In order to do this, I have to keep going into the shop and buying those pieces for shop credits. And when we get to the highest level that we are, in this case, the teal gear, we definitely don't have enough, and we have to keep farming that. That weighs heavily on your ability to acquire shop credits. Not only that, right? We go to the standard supply section. I need to also top these characters off, just like we do on our main account. I have to do the same thing. I need to get my Nova Sam. I need to get more of Moon Girl. We didn't build the Winter Guard, right? You have to draw lines in the sand somewhere and just go from a certain place forward. Winter Guard came out too late, but we're using shop credits for that. We used them for some of these other characters. So like Scorpion there, or the Insidious 6. We didn't build Damon. I don't do demons, But it is just interesting to note that when you get enough credits, it tells you to stop. It tells you that you do indeed have enough to max the character out. Just a small point. But Lady Bullseye, right? We're still trying to max out our Immortal Weapon team. So there's characters here that we're working on. And there's Spider-Man, Wolverine, Venom, right? I'm going to be farming those characters as well using my shop credits. So the draw on shop credits for a newer to mid-game player is a lot greater than it is for the end game player. So Scopely, this is just something I'm urging you to keep an eye on, because right where when you run out, and I'm playing, I think I'm doing this correctly. I'm not going after everything. I'm just going after teams that I'm building, and I'm going after resources that I need to build said teams. I think that's how it's supposed to work, but we're continually moving down. We're drawing down to zero on a resource. When we run out, we just run out. It is what it is. It's fine. We'll just report that and talk about how this is affecting the economy, how this is affecting our growth. But we just wanted to help people to understand what it is that some people are experiencing, because everybody's not in the same place. And so this is why you hear complaints about shop credits. Switch over to power cores. So there are some depletion trends here. This actually teaches us quite a bit. Event-driven core bleed. So the main account, we were down 500 power cores overall, right? Not crazy. Not crazy. It says core accumulation reversed as energy refreshes for June release campaigns begin to eat into core income. So we don't do a whole lot of that on the main account, to be honest. So it didn't come from refreshing the campaigns and whatnot as much. We do some of that, right? You do need to do a little of that to get your dailies. So we do some of that on occasion. Shouldn't say on occasion. Like on the regular campaign energy, we do that. And we probably do one or two on the ISO 8 campaign energy, just to make sure we're getting our dailies accomplished. Right? I'm a regular person. I can't log in all the time. I can't necessarily log in for all 3 store refreshes and energy refreshes and things like that. So I usually can log in twice a day on the game. That means I'm going to need to use a core to refresh one of those energies in order to finish the dailies, which we want to do. Okay. The baby account though, heavy core drain dropping to 7,525 to force node unlocks for required teams. So again, doesn't understand, but that is more true. We do a lot more refreshes on the baby account. We refresh all, or I shouldn't say all, we refresh our campaign energy and our ISO 8 energy 50, 50, 50, and we stop at the 100 core refreshes because we're not yet at max level. So you being at max level is the most important thing, because your level dictates how high you can put your gear on, which dictates how strong your character can go. Danger. This is important. A sustained deficit limits free-to-play options to participate in high-value 675 core orb releases or event campaigns. This is important, right? I am drawing a deficit on the main account. The reason why that happened is because I did indeed get was it the Toxin and the Riot? Was it those 2 characters that they had the core orbs for? I did indeed do that to unlock both those characters and build them up. This is to help us to appreciate that the amount of power cores we have coming in, if that is something that continues, if they're going to start allowing us to use power cores to unlock characters, be mindful that the amount that we have coming in will not sustain us doing that. Okay? So just because we can doesn't always mean that we should. So as you just saw in my case earlier, if, for example, they were to have core orbs for the Amazing Avengers, I don't have the resources to build them. So I could unlock them early all I want, but I don't have the resource to build them. So I'd be wasting those power cores. Does that make sense? And over time, you're going to be drawing that down. They're not, if they bring that back, you have to understand it's probably, this is just my thoughts on this. It's probably not with the intent that this is a sustainable thing on the free-to-play side. It's a bonus thing that if you wanted to do that, you could use cores to unlock them. You're still not going to have the resources. So you would still have to be a spender in a sense. You would have to buy those resources in some way, shape, or form, maybe through a battle pass or something of that nature. It's just something to keep in mind. Even if they bring back the core orbs as free-to-play players, you're still going to have to buy something to make sure you're able to build those characters up. Hopefully that makes sense. Please ask any questions if that's not clear. When it comes to us, again, as new to mid-game players, our power cores are steadily decreasing. They're going down because we need to use them for campaign energy refreshes. Getting to max level is very, very important. That dictates the overall strength of your characters, and that dictates the harder content that you can do. We were not able to do any of the difficult content on that baby account. We did all the easy content. We were not able to do any of the normal content so far with that baby account when it comes to the towers and things of that nature. It's good that all those characters are still available. That's great. That's good. But we need to see how long it takes to get up into that next bracket, because there are rewards there to help our account. And if we continue on the same slope, right, at some point we're going to run out of power cores. So for that reason, we did not, as you saw, we did not unlock the symbiote characters with power cores on the baby account. We are saving those power cores for refreshes to campaign and ISO 8 energy, because we need to keep moving the account forward. We also need to put that ISO 8. We need more ISO 8 on that account than we do on the main. We need to put it on raid characters so we can qualify for higher tiers of raids to get more resources in that regard. So this is just an overall comparison of the main accounts. It says the strategic quadrants. So we'll just look at some base resources and see how it compares. 1, raw gold. So both accounts maintained robust positive balances. We had extra 10 million on the main, even more on the baby account. So this was a surplus when it came to gold. We found that to be true in both cases, even after we completed multiple massive character leveling projects. We built 5 characters on the baby, 6 characters on the main account, and we still came out ahead when it came to gold. Stable quadrant, tier 4 and ability materials. This is a little bit misleading. Ability material income remains positive. So our ability materials on the main account, we had an extra 600 T4s. We're talking about T4s here. And we didn't open, I don't think we opened any of those orbs. So we'll have to go back and look. But yeah, main accounts, we have enough. We have enough to keep them going. Now it says on the baby account, it says we also had a positive of 524 tier 4s. The reason why we had a positive is because we did not spend any. We didn't spend any. Let's clarify that. So for the last grouping of characters that we put tier 4s on were the Daring Warriors. Okay. So we go to Night Thrasher here and we see that we did the passive, ultimate, special. We didn't do the basic, and we did that throughout the rest of the Daring Warrior characters, with the exception there of obviously Jessica Jones, but we didn't do the ultimate, or excuse me, the passive on her. We did indeed do the basic for the energy generation. And then if we go back and look at the rest of the characters, we did not do it for the rest of the teams, right? So we did not do it for the Shadow Conclave. We did not do it for the Exalted X-Men because we simply didn't have enough. And now, as we get here to the Symbiote 6, we're trying to see if we're in a place where we can kit out an entire team with tier 4s. Okay. We're not going to do the basic on them, but if we take a look, right, we could. We have 300 there. Who are we working on? Who do we just build up? Our guy here. So we'll find out right here. We'll find out at the end of the month if we had enough to put all of the tier 4s onto this new team. Arena teams are important, so this would be the time to do it. But I had to skip 2 teams if it's possible, if it works out. But that means I had to skip 2 teams in order to do it. So still, up and coming players, although the resource is there, it's there for us to get. We're not playing at the same rate as the end game, so we can't do it the same way. We can't replicate things the same way. Does that make sense? So there are people in the community that are running out. So we want to make sure that we are making good recommendations for people as to what they're supposed to be doing. If you're a newer to mid-game player, you may not have enough. In my case, I was skipping teams. Maybe you find that distasteful. Maybe you should just only do the passives to make sure that the teams work. I don't know if there is enough in the economy for where we are because we're all in different places to do that. But that's something that we want to test out. I really need to know how you're being affected by this. Do you have enough tier fours? How are you building? I would really like to get a lot more conversation going. If you hit me in either here or on the Discord, then we can compare accounts and things like that. I'm really curious to know what the actual mid game, early game looks like, even end game. If you haven't been playing for as long as I have, I've been playing since the beginning. So that's 8 years. If you haven't been playing that long, are you still feeling the impact in the sense of, do you have enough tier fours? Do you have training materials? Do you have gold? I just think it's a really interesting conversation, right? What's happening in the economy versus what's happening to you in the economy is different, right? Just like real life. What's happening to this person, happening to that person is different in real life. So it's giving us an alert for power cores. It says power core balances dipped negatively across both rosters due to sustained campaign release events. Spending baseline is currently outpacing income. That is something to be mindful of. What we're using right now is outpacing the income. So the reason why is different on both accounts is not necessarily due to campaign release events. Campaigns for the baby account, for the main account, we use them for those core orbs. And right, we use them for those core orbs. And if that's something that becomes part of the norm, you need to understand it outpaces our income. So it's not a sustainable thing. I would use it sparingly for teams that you deem to be important. And you got to make sure that you have the resources. Just because you can unlock the character doesn't mean you can build the character. The crisis quadrant, training materials in the shops. So our gold training materials, we used them all, right? On the main account, shop credits, we're still hemorrhaging a ton. Right, rounded up here to 5,000, 500,000. That makes a barrier to long-term roster development, and I'm sure that's something that some of you are seeing. We have to use shop credits as newer players for a lot more things than you need to use them on the end game. A lot more things. So it is a cause of concern. If we run out, we'll deal with it then, and we'll see. We'll be able to empathize more with what people are dealing with. Right now, we still have enough. And I always encourage people, just build what you need to build. Don't build, right? It's what I need, not would be nice to, right? It's what I need to do, not what would be nice to do. No wish list. These are the characters that I'm actively working on or coming out next in the case of, say, Spider-Man, Hulk, and whatnot. But don't say, oh, I'm going to build this team someday. Oh, I'm going to build that team someday. You don't have enough resources to do that. So the recommendation, I asked it for recommendations. The recommendation that Gemini gave is basically don't spend, which, right, that's not a thing. That's not a thing, right? You got to use your resources. So it's treating this like a budget, like that we would all have at home. And it's just telling us to curtail our spending for the most part, which I guess is good advice. And if we're not doing it the way we're supposed to, yes, we need to curtail our spending. We can only build 5 characters. If you're trying to build more than that, we're probably doing too much, and we're gonna run ourselves into the ground. If we're trying to build things up to level 110 and we're free to play players, there's not enough resources for that. You're gonna run at a deficit. Level 105. 105 is the free to play benchmark right now. Still, it's been that way for a minute. We'll have to see if that changes. If we're trying to do more than that, we're going to run out. So this is the information that I have. Things are looking pretty good, right? I'm able to keep up for the most part. We'll have to see what happens with those gold training materials when we start running into the Amazing Avengers. Do I have time to build that back up? Should I be opening those orbs? Maybe they're part of the development that I'm supposed to be doing. But it looks like for the most part, the economy is evening out. Things seem to be going okay. I didn't really run out totally of anything in reality. Shop credits remain an issue. Scopely, please keep that in mind when it comes to new or mid-game players. I would like to know your thoughts. It looks like things are going good. please hit me up in the comments. Let's talk. Let's discuss things. Hit me up in the Discord, which is always in the description. Maybe we can compare accounts and get a more detailed view of what is going on.